and responsibility. I just read this or watched this really cool TED Talk. I think it was a TED Talk by Frans de Waal, Fransdewaal. And he studied political behavior in chimpanzees. So I wish I had the URL for it. Maybe somebody can post that if they would. But one of the things that de Waal pointed out was that the most empathic chimpanzees in a chimpanzee troop are actually the most dominant males. They're the ones who do the most comforting and the most care. Like the females are more empathic than the males on average. But across all of the chimpanzees, the most dominant males are the ones that show the most empathic responses. And that's part of de Waal's, and he's not the only animal ethologist, someone who studies the natural behavior of animals. He's not the only person to point this sort of thing out, is that the ability to move forward in a hierarchy is dependent on far more than power and aggression. And it's dependent on reciprocity and friendship, but also, especially in the case of human beings, on skill. Because hopefully when we organize our hierarchies and we're attempting to solve complex problems by setting up a hierarchy that allows for competition and cooperation, that the hierarchy organizes itself so that the most competent people rise to the top. And I actually think that generally speaking, that's true. I mean, the selection process isn't perfect, and it's marred by, you could say, the proclivity to select people for reasons other than their fundamental competence. And that might be their attractiveness or their extroversion or their height or their charisma, their self-confidence. It might be their race or their gender or their sexuality too, in situations where true prejudice plays a role. But that only happens when the hierarchies have become corrupt, because obviously it's in everyone's best interests, if we're trying to solve complex problems, that the most competent people are the ones that have the opportunity to rise to the top. And I actually think we do a damn good job of that in the West, which is why almost everything that we do in the West works, why everything is reliable, and why the power is always on, and why our electronic technology works, and why our society in general works. And you can be cynical about that if you want, but I don't know what you would compare the functionality of our societies to, because things are way better than they were 150 years ago. They're getting better very, very rapidly as Western ideas of production and private property and honesty and integrity, I would say as well, spread around the world, especially now that the more radical socialist ideas that were pushed by people like the Soviets have declined, at least to some degree, since the collapse of the Soviet Union.